Swanglin Show, episode 28 is going down. Joshua P. Dunn in the house today. The P stands for people, because we're talking about some shit that people do. Joined today by the Swanglin heavyweight champion representing South Florida, the dude that's out there only wears expensive glasses. Look at the chain dangling, just stunting on the whole entire world with that Konspiracy Family t-shirt on, Vice Grip, Mr. Grippz. What's happening?
Popping, y'all. What's good?
Yo, it's a very good feeling to be joined by the Swanglin heavyweight champion as we're going and dropping this episode of the Swanglin Show. Shout out to everybody that's been listening to the Swanglin Show and subscribing and all this shit on the channel and putting it down for Swanglers worldwide. We've been chopping it up about a bunch of different concepts over the last couple episodes of the show. We've been talking about shit like loyalty. We've been talking about shit about people's intentions. We've been talking about disloyalty. We've been talking about that pure fuckery in other ways. But right now on the Swanglin Show, episode 28, like I said, I'm joined by the Swanglin heavyweight champion representing South Florida, Vice Grip, Mr. Grippz, as always. And we also got a special guest today, making his first appearance on the Swanglin Show of all time. We're talking about the man, E.J. What's happening, E.J. Harrison? How's it going, my friend?
Man, I'm good. You caught me in the middle of making pizzas. I finally could come and open up and see what's going on with you guys, man.
Oh, and it's a wonderful thing to have you joining us and entering the ranks, you know what I'm saying, of the appearance count total that accumulates to let motherfuckers potentially be the Swanglin heavyweight champion like Vice Grip right now. So he's looking at the fresh meat. He's like, I see there's new competitors on the block coming to get my Swanglin heavyweight champion. And it's a wonderful thing to always be joined by members of the illustrious Konspiracy Family as we chop it down on the motherfucking Swanglin Show. And now, once again, a party isn't exactly a party without the babyface, without the homecoming king, without the fickle freckle boy living in the sea, my co-host with the most. And when I say the most, I mean the fucking most. Kyle, Newkleus, Holsinger, what's up, my dude?
Not much. How's it going, man? What's up, everyone? Wonderful. EJ, Grippz, what's up, man?
What's popping?
I love it that now, all of a sudden, this conversation has spiraled out of control so quickly. Before we even get to the subject, it's just like boom, 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 boom. The homies are in the fucking house. And on the Swanglin Show today, my friends, we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about making mistakes and what you can do to learn from making mistakes, or maybe advice you could give to people that frequently make mistakes. So we're going to dive headfirst right into it, right? The term mistake is defined as an action or judgment that is misguided or wrong, or to, of course, be wrong about something is also to make a mistake. So I'm going to bounce my first question to my man, Kyle Newkleus Holsinger, the homecoming king. What is something you can think of on a small scale that is a mistake that you make frequently?
Assuming I have the time to do something when I don't. I always assume you always assume, I'll do that later. And then that time, something else takes up that time.
Well, next time you better judge it better, you little son of a bitch. And maybe you'll be able to get all your things done when you're prioritizing and gearing up for the appearances of the co-host on the Swanglin Show. We're talking about mistakes, right? And mistakes, I feel like mistakes are something that everybody makes, whether it be on a large scale or a small scale. Some people make mistakes so bad to where they can't function in society because of the repercussions of their mistakes. Some people make super small mistakes that it don't even really affect their day-to-day life because they can just keep going because they got it together like that. Now, mistakes, one thing about making mistakes, which I've made plenty of them in my life, and I'm sure you guys have probably witnessed me make several of these mistakes in my life. One thing that I always noticed is that you always gain some type of knowledge from making a mistake. So my man, E.J. Harrison, the pizza man, is in the building. I got a question for you in relation to business. What could you say is an example of a mistake that you have made that you have gained knowledge from making the mistake?
Oh man, I would say the mistakes would be more for me. It's more of coming to age, man. You learn a lot from mistakes if you're smart enough to learn from them, man. I'd say my biggest mistake, for me is, I'm from a small town. It is what it is here, but making that transition from the streets to a business person, you know what I'm saying? You can't deal with all things the way you might deal with them on the streets in the business world. And coming to age, you'll find that out real quick. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably the mistake that I've made the most that I've learned from.
I think that's a good example of that because, you got to have a different type of temperament. You have to have a different type of approach. You have to carry yourself in a different manner when you make that transition. You can't just always rely on your internal instincts when it comes to having conversations with people and, negotiating. And there's certain tactics that you have out here that sometimes you don't always get to display in that realm. So I'm glad that you dropped that insight because that's very valuable in my opinion. Now, the Swanglin Heavyweight Champion, Vice Grip, is in the house. Have you ever made a mistake and then trying to solve the mistake, your creative brain starts going and then you just come up with a fucking solution? And if so, you got an example of a mistake causing you to be creative and coming up with a solution to the mistake?
Yeah, it's happened. I mean, I can't really think of something specific off rip right now, but basic life is making mistakes and then correcting them or finding ways to soften the blow of those mistakes. Even, you're talking to a girl, you might say the wrong thing and you feel the vibe kind of change. Then you got to immediately make that next dance move to say something slick to get you back on course and in the good graces. So, it doesn't matter if it's something in a professional setting or a social setting. Mistakes are going to happen. You can't shy away from them. Everyone's human. We got flaws. And sometimes we don't know how to act in certain environments. Like EJ was saying, a lot of us come from the streets, but we're all professionals now. So, how we operated in our previous business is not the same as how we can operate in our current business. So, you learn from those mistakes and you make adjustments and you got to be, like you said, creative with them sometimes.
Oh yeah. You got to be able to always be almost like a good reference or metaphor that you could use would be that pivot foot in the basketball game. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got to always be able to slightly turn a little bit to adjust to something, whether you're the one making the mistake or you're dealing with the repercussions of somebody else's mistakes, which I'm sure a lot of us have to do in our personal lives. You know what I mean? When you're somebody that's reliable and people depend on you and stuff, sometimes picking up the pieces of other people's mistakes sometimes kind of attracts and gravitates your way because you're naturally a problem solver. So I'm sure that, that's something that I can relate to. And maybe other people that are listening to the Swanglin Show can listen to that as well. And be like, yeah, I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about, you little son of a bitch. It's going down on the Swanglin Show, episode 28, joined by members of the Konspiracy Family. As always, I got my man, the Fickle Freckle boy, man, rocking that yellow and black Wolverhampton Wolves Euro soccer gear, representing for that fucking rare shit like he always does. Now, Kyle, making mistakes, right? It makes you resilient. You gotta, there's something about the adversity of overcoming a challenge that kind of sparks you up and gets you going, right? Because if you don't make mistakes, you would always be staying in your comfort zone, right? And that's never going to lead you where you want to go. So can you give us an example of how maybe jumping out of your comfort zone and making a mistake made you a better person?
Oh, yeah. It was a mistake to, continue my relationship with the mother of my children for as long as I did. I probably should have summed that shit up sooner. But there was a lot of good that came out of it, like trial and error. You know what I mean? I learned from it about relationships, but not only that, when we moved out of state, I was able to find different opportunities and got to get in other fields of work that I wouldn't have before. So I mean, like, there was a lot of, even though it was a bad situation, a lot of very good things came out of the end of it. So you live and you learn. Like, there's times at jobs where, like, I couldn't get stuff figured out, and then all of a sudden it starts clicking for you, or you're able to find your way. Like, I don't know, different presses I've run and stuff, people run them certain ways, but maybe just tweak it a little bit because I was left-handed, do things a little different. It helped. So just trial and error is the best life lesson.
That's what's up, man. I think that's a good example. And the concept of making mistakes, or other people making mistakes, or us making mistakes in general, right? It kind of teaches you a lot about humanity, because it's like an underlying blessing, in my opinion, to be able to see that and assess that and read that, because you learn a lot about people by the decisions they make. And you see somebody make some type of mistake, you can gather that type of info. And I think there's a big difference between assessing and being judgmental. You know what I mean? Just because I don't heavy or like weigh my opinion on something does not mean I did not see that shit that was going on, or that shit that you did. And you know what I'm saying? I can make my decisions based upon that. Now, my man, E.J. Harrison, is in the building, representing for Fostoria, Ohio. You got an example, EJ, of maybe a time where somebody else's mistakes or behavior patterns allowed you to see the type of person that you were, and like you could, or they were, and you were able to like dodge a bullet by knowing that it's not a good look to fuck with somebody because of their mistake patterns.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that when you get, as far as business wise goes, and I think this probably pertains to just real life lessons type deal. Sometimes spotting people's mistakes or getting into a mistake that happens to have you involved makes you be able to watch for mistakes even better. You know what I'm saying? It is just to keep an eye open, because mistakes do happen. Stuff happens. It is what it is sometimes. But for the most part, man, all mistakes, at least for me, always end up in that aha moment. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that light bulb goes off, and from that mistake comes something great and beautiful. And you know what I'm saying? You may not have seen it while the mistake was happening, but to look at it afterwards, sometimes those mistakes are life changers in positive ways, and of course negative. But if you can bring that positive out of a mistake, man, you're winning.
Absolutely. Vice, your opinion on what EJ just said there?
I mean, I agree with it. Sometimes you never know how your life could change when things happen to you. It's just inputting new information, and it completely, some things are so jarring that what seems simple right away could have a long lasting effect. And then you look back at it years later and you're like, yo, that's kind of like when I noticed that change, So sometimes learning from someone's mistake, like you see them make that mistake, and it influences how you move, so that alters your course,
Absolutely.
It can have a big impact.
And I think one thing about we've mentioned so far about, being adversely affected by other people's mistakes, right? But I also want to focus in on when I'm the one that makes the fucking mistake. There is nothing in the world that'll sit you down in your chair faster and make you feel like a fucking ant underneath of a fucking microscope more than making a mistake and having to sit and reflect on it. Is the most humbling fucking thing of all time. Kyle Newkleus Holsinger, what's a reference that you could give me for a time where you've been just extremely humbled by making a mistake?
Like going to custody court, dude. Like that whole deal, man. Like, cause you have to take a class. You might have to take a couple classes depending on what state you're in and all that jazz. But I had to take this one class, and I don't know. They start pointing out what to do and what not to do when interacting with stuff. And sometimes I would say the good portion of the parents in there probably saw parts of themselves in there, and I did too, in parts of arguing and this stuff around kids. And like, it humbles me to realize, because like you think of yourself, especially when you're in a relationship and like whatever, you think like everything's fine, but sometimes you don't realize until later. So to see some of the mistakes I was making in front of my kids as far as arguing with their mother, which is why I think it was better that it did end the way that it did. But the whole process of that was super humbling because you have to realize you need to improve. I needed to improve as a father, and I needed to improve, I guess, as a man and as a person to get the goal that I wanted, to get the result that I wanted. And I was able to do that. I'm still on that same path.
Well, and that's I feel like that's one of the byproducts of a mistake is it could either create a coward really, or it could create courage. You know what I mean? So what you're saying is you made a mistake and then you're self-assessing and you're looking at it and then you fucking muster up the energy and the fucking balls to be like, nah, fuck that. This is something about myself that maybe I'm not who I think I am, or maybe I need to improve in this regard, and you make the fucking change. That's being courageous is definitely a back end directly tied concept with making mistakes, because in order to change and not be able to make those mistakes again, it's definitely not an easy thing. And a lot of people probably put a lot of effort into making that happen because it makes you wiser. When you make a mistake, sometimes you can make a mistake that's life changing, and it could be the inspiring force for the best thing that ever happens to you in your entire life. Now, speaking of the best thing that could happen to you in your entire life, say you're sitting in this game day and your fucking team's in the playoffs or some shit, and then some magical vehicle just pulls up to your house and you're like, man, what's going on? And it's a motherfucking delivery from Nunu's Kitchen. C.J. Dinero pulls up with the goddamn Cincinnati Bengals hoodie on, dropping off.
Goddamn right.
The king of the wing is joining us on the Swanglin Show, episode 28. We're talking about mistakes. So we've been going around the room and we've been chopping it up about the byproducts of mistakes and what it's like to pick up the pieces of other people's mistakes and how making mistakes can sit you down and make you super humble. So we're just going to put you on the spot right off the rip. C.J. Dinero, tell me the most recent mistake you've ever made.
Recent mistake I ever made. It made me humble. Shit. Recently something with the business. Trying to do more than I actually could. Trying to fill an order that I couldn't do it. I thought I could. I thought I had the resources to do it, but it didn't work out that way. Just overreaching, basically.
Well, shit, that's good though, because if you got to overreach, that means you're scaling to growth. You're learning and adapting to what you can handle, what you can't handle. So now you know next time how to be ready for that, and you're going to crank it out the next time. So you made a mistake. Boom, there's the solution. You learn from it. We got the Cincinnati Bengals fan is in the house, C.J. Dinero. We got the man, E.J. Harrison, in the building. E.J., tell the people right now that's listening to the Swanglin Show, if they wanted to pick up some super dope pizza in Northwest Ohio, where could they get that from?
You can come to the Venue 18, man. It's Daddy and Kay's Pizza now. It's delicious. Not only pizza, you can get you some cheesecake. Just I'm telling you, it's delicious. Ask about it.
and that's located in Fostoria, Ohio, Venue 18. You go there, Daddy and Kay's Pizza, and get you some straight fire and some fire dessert. Now, my man, Vice Grip, the Swanglin heavyweight champion, he's living in a life of luxury. He's down there in South Florida in the sunlight all the time. He had to trim the beard down. I wish he would have got rid of the center portion and had just like the Hogan only fucking handlebar stash as the champion. That would have been live. You would look like dude from Metallica.
Grab the American flag and fucking do the whole thing. No.
Oh yeah.
We'll leave that to him.
It's going down on episode 28 of the Swanglin Show. We're talking about mistakes. C.J. Dinero's confused. He needs to know where the fuck.
Yeah, I am. I'm really confused. I'm looking for my damn cutting boards, but I don't know what shit is it.
Well, if you're in the kitchen and you're on the Swanglin Show, you want to make sure you know where your cutting boards are at, where your
Yeah, man, I had 2 of them. I don't know where the hell it went.
You don't want to hurt yourself on the Swanglin Show trying to experiment, because sometimes making mistakes will teach you how to experiment, because like
Exactly.
You got to create a new approach to something, or if you're the type of person that's like innovative, or you try to think of different ideas or different solutions to things, whether it be like a product or like a personal problem, you always got to experiment. And usually like 90% of those experiments end up in complete failure. But when you do hit on that one, like EJ mentioned earlier, you have that eureka moment. It's all worth all of the mistakes and the trial and error, because the knowledge that you gain along the way is complete gold. Does any of my friends on the Swanglin Show want to enlighten us on this topic?
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Oh shit, go now. You should go ahead.
Man, I could tell you a good story, man. Let me if I got a few minutes, I'll tell you a good story. And it's kind of funny. So it's been about 8 years ago, man. I did my first little photo booth, man. One of my dudes named BJ, he was going to jail for about 14 years. And it was the first time I had ever been asked to do a photo booth. And I set up and I got ready, and I like failed completely. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a complete fail. I think I took over 100 pictures. Now I should have got at least $5 a picture, right? I walked out of there with $45 because I had to give everyone back their money because my printer wouldn't print. The paper I got was the wrong size. It was terrible. But out of that moment, man, I was like, hold on. So you telling me I can take some pictures of people and print them on the spot? It took me maybe 3 to 4 minutes at a cost of maybe 30 to 40 cents a picture, and I can charge them $5 a pop. And it was good. Man, I got everything together. Went up to Toledo, that's city close to us, man. Went in the club, my cousin's club, and did it, and made $1,000 that first night. $1,000 after I got everything right. But that aha moment of trying to do the photo booth for the first time and failing and losing money, man, that was everything. I've done that 1,000 times now.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Just so.
Now, I think another reference that I can speak to, that's a great story, by the way, because I know the type of person you are, EJ.
You were talking about BJ party, weren't you?
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I was at that party. Yeah, I was there.
Yep. I probably gave you your money back.
Yeah, he wants his $5 back. He wants his fucking $5 back.
The matter of
I
fact,
was in that's when we took that big ass group picture with BJ and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
I
why I was only charging 5. Went to Toledo and started charging 10, and they gave it to me. It's awesome. Still to this day.
That's such a great story. And I know all of us that's in the room, all of us have experience with throwing nightlife events and throwing concert events and stuff like that. And there's no business other than that. Like, when you come in at the level that people like us come in at, ground level, you got to figure everything out on your own. You got to renegade moves. You got to pay for everything off top. You know what I'm saying? So you take so many little L's along the way, and you got to learn and maneuver and kind of just chisel this block of granite until you got this well-oiled machine of an approach. Otherwise, you fucking lose your ass on this shit. And I know that everybody that's in this room can feel that the relevance of that subject specifically, because if you're listening to the Swanglin Show and you ever threw a concert or a party, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You better have your ducks in a row, and you better be organized, goddamn it, or you're going to take that L. Now, I'm joined by the Swanglin heavyweight champion, Vice Grip, representing South Florida, rocking that crucial. If you guys see that Konspiracy Family Rick Nixon t-shirt that you probably can't even buy them anymore. That's exclusive. We gotta create a demand for those. Web store shut down right now. Maybe in a couple of weeks you might be able to get a Konspiracy Family t-shirt. Maybe you won't be able to, you little son of a bitch. You should keep watching the Swanglin Show and find out. Now, we're gonna talk about how we can prevent ourselves from making mistakes in the future. Okay. So I was looking up like different techniques and stuff that they say is like preemptive to mistake making. And I came across this formula where this gentleman in this article says that the best way to prevent yourself from making mistakes is by taking the world at eye value, meaning always assessing what's directly in front of you first and processing that first. Vice grip. Do you think that that's good advice as far as that someone could take?
Light on again.
As far as maybe not making mistakes in the future, do you think that's a good advice for them?
I think C.J. found his cutting board, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to take things that are right in front of you. Your eyes are going to be the first test. You know, you got to obviously read into things and do your due diligence afterwards. But the eye test is always the first test. You know, so you gotta look at things at face value and realize what they are, and then figure out how to go about your next maneuvers.
Absolutely. You got to have that critical thought process. That's like the way I look at everything. It's like, for me, it's sometimes a gift and it's a curse, the level of analytical that I am, because I know that like the type of person I am, when I set goals, I segment, I break everything down into mini goals and this and that. You know what I mean? If I'm making an album, I'm breaking it down in quadrants, and I got 4 songs like this and 2 songs like this. Or if I'm doing anything, pretty much I always break it down and want to know the functionality of everything. Everything that I look at, I see for smaller pieces of what it is and the components that make it work. So for me, making mistakes kind of like weighs heavily on me, because I don't know if it's like maybe a perfectionist mindset that I have, or whether it's my ego and I just don't want to be wrong. You know what I mean? Sometimes, or whatever. Sometimes when I make a mistake, dude, it weighs so heavy on me that I know for a fact I'll never in life make that same mistake again, because it's like it overtakes my thought process, like how almost like I fucking cheated on myself or something. Like, how dare I do that? That's how heavily I weigh sometimes when I make mistakes on myself. Now, Kyle, Newkleus Holsinger, the babyface, when you cut off your beard, did you immediately say, fuck, dude, I made a mistake?
No, I'll grow it right back. It'll be back in no time. But I want to point out that like there are certain mistakes that like you can't, once something's done, it can't be undone. Like you can get drunk and decide to drive and kill a van load of people. Like there are certain mistakes that happen, but I'm not saying like you can't fix the situation, but all you can do is try to be, move from there and do the best you can from that point. Like there's times where like you lose your whole ass, like, in gambling or addiction or something, and there ain't no fixing the problems that the relationships you've affected or, whatever, in the lives and stuff. So all you can do is hopefully learn from that the best you can and go forward. Because I mean, there are mistakes that you can like learn from there and adjust, like like what EJ was talking about with his business and making money. But then there are other mistakes that are like life, I don't want to say life choices, but maybe like, something that big, where maybe you had the wrong role models and stuff. But you learn, but you might have to take a serious L, So I do want to point out there are different types of mistakes and ways you can recover, like how, from.
Absolutely. Now, some, fortunately, I think it's safe to say that everybody that's on the Swanglin Show, none of us have really made such large of a mistake that has that type of irreprehensible damage that you can't take back, because a lot of those type of stints either, result in somebody losing their life or somebody going to prison for an extended period of time. So fortunately, we're all here to even talk about that subject. But on episode 27, we had brushed up a little bit and talked about the concept of emotional intelligence, Kyle, and what you were just saying kind of makes me wonder if working on our own emotional intelligence and being more aware of how our mistakes affect other people, if that's the real preemptive way that we can stop making mistakes in the future. CJ, your thoughts on that?
Say it again.
Do you think that being more aware of how your mistakes affect other people would be a good way to stop making mistakes entirely?
Oh yeah, because then at that point you're looking at the bigger picture. You just ain't looking at it for yourself. It's a selfless act. Because and that comes with growth. You know, I'm still learning things and shit when it comes to like relationships and stuff, of how to, you know, not always think about myself. And sometimes it's just a thing where you ain't even really conscious that you're doing it, because you just been doing it for so long. You're so used to doing it a certain way. But when somebody is able to point that out and tell you, you realize like, okay, maybe I need to switch up. So, you know, listening is a key part of it too. You know, so you can learn from those things that you did in the past and better yourself. Because all of us at the end of the day, we should always want to better ourselves and not remain the same. You know, stay stagnant, basically. Keep full progress. So yeah, definitely you gotta learn from your past mistakes and everything with it.
Now, I think that what you said is very crucial when it comes to like dealing with other people in general. Like if you have to be willing to give a little to get a little in return, you know what I mean? So if you're listening to the Swanglin Show, you got to know everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. The Swanglin Heavyweight Champion Vice Grip representing South Florida is in the house. I need to know right now, Vice, have you ever fucked up so bad that you couldn't believe it?
Yeah. There's been times, you know. I don't really want to go into the professional life on here too much, but you know, there's been some times where I look and I'll be like, oh my God. And you know, you get hit with that moment, like, okay, do I do the honest thing and own up to it? Or do I try to sweep it under the rug somehow and create a way that I get out of it, you know? And a lot of times, you know, the best thing is to just own up to it and go the honest route. And sometimes you gotta sweep that thing under the rug. You'd be like, nah, you know, not today. It depends on at what level that mistake is and how much the ripple effect is going to affect. Because like you said, your mistake, especially, you know, whether it's working or in a relationship, it affects other people. That's a judgment call to where it's like, okay, now how is this going to affect other people? What's the right course of action going forward? So yeah, it's usually best to just be honest, but there has been times where, you know, be like, nah, I ain't telling the boss this today. I'm sweeping this under the rug. I know he's in the bad mood and it's not happening. I'll tell him later on in the week, you know, something fucking happened. So
absolutely. And it's been an underlying topic, dude, over the last like 3 or 4 episodes of the show, to where we touch on these different moments that create vulnerability in you as a man, and about how this is like really like the fulcrum and the fucking center point of whether this is the moment that's going to fucking decide whether you're a buster or you're a fucking champion. That moment when you fucking feel uncomfortable, when things aren't the way that they're supposed to be, and you might start feeling some anxiety and shit coming on. That's that moment that you got to learn to thrive in and be able to take the L even when you take the L, because sometimes the knowledge that comes along with that loss is better than anything you could ever win in life. And I swear to God, sometimes you got to be able to have that clarity to see that and know that sometimes the prize that you think is the prize isn't always the prize. You walk away with some real gems taking losses out here. And not that I'm encouraging taking an L, but I've taken so many in my professional and personal life to know that without them, I definitely would not be in the position that I am right now. So you got to be available to take your lumps sometimes. It's like when you were a kid, Kyle, and you just started playing youth football. The first time they handed you to the football, it hurt like a motherfucker when you got tackled. But the second time you got hit, it hurt a little bit less. And then the third time you got hit, your whole body was numb because it was 2 degrees, because we live in Ohio like fools, and you couldn't feel it at all ever again. So you got to be able to put yourself out there and take those shots, because taking the L sometimes, man, will just thicken your skin, make you a better person, make you wiser, make you stronger. But we definitely are leaning towards having a whole entire episode just about vulnerability in its entirety as a concept, because it's been an underlying thing in every episode that we've been talking about, these moments where you can either decide to break free from the pack and make something fucking amazing happen, or you could be a little son of a bitch, like I've been telling you on the Swanglin Show, episode 28. We're going to title this episode, I Made a Mistake. I think that's a good title because right now I'm going to segment into what I feel like is the biggest mistake that I ever made in my life.
Well, there's been some mistakes. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, dude. There's been fucking more than I'd ever be willing to admit. And to some of you guys, I'd probably lie about it. How you like that, you little son of a bitch? You got to be able to prove it. You got to be able to have proof in the court of the Swanglin Show in Casa de la Swangle. But I'm going to tell you guys, man, about the biggest mistake that I feel like I ever made in my life and why I made that mistake and what I learned from it. So check this out. So when I was younger, like a kid, maybe like 8 or 9 years old, they started to see like traits in me academically to believe that I was like a gifted child because of the way that I process numerics and English, right? So I was very skilled in English and arithmetic as a child. And they started testing me for these things, right? Like, and I got fucking scared of it because I kind of felt like if I went the route of like giving them 100% of what they were trying to test me for, that like maybe other kids would think I was a fucking geek or something, or like whatever. And then like, as I progressed into academics, like I fucked around a lot. Like I'm pretty sure I had to take like 3 English classes my senior year of high school all at one time in order to graduate, and was always in alternative school methods and doing all types of shit. And it's because I fucked around all the time because I don't know, maybe I just wanted to fit in with people and wanted to be friends with people. But I feel like during those years, I lost a lot of sharpness and potential, a lot of time wasted that I could have applied myself more. And I feel like the biggest mistake that I've ever made in my life was not applying myself academically as a child. Kyle, Newkleus Holsinger, since this is what we're going to do, we're going to pass this around the motherfucking table. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made?
I would say something like similar. Yeah. Like I wish I'd have studied harder in school, which would have put me in a position to do more things, this and that. But actually, I wished I'd have moved further away. I wish I'd have went out for my college. I went to the University of Findlay. I wish I'd have chose like Florida State or I don't know, UCLA or Washington, or I wish I'd have went out and traveled farther and just did something more than stayed around the local area that I was at. That would be my biggest mistake. I wish I would have moved out sooner.
Yeah, I feel like I also have in that regard feeling like maybe I capsized myself by not expanding and going to a different place of the world and trying to set my feet in the ground and to fucking stand on it, man. Like I'm always looking at things like, what is the greatest challenge? Like, what is it? What is the biggest thing that I can do? How can I get there? And, reaching out and branching out, jumping out and going to a different part of the country and starting your life over is a ballsy fucking move. So kudos to anybody that's ever taken that risk. C.Jay Dinero, the king of the wing from New News Kitchen, is in the house representing Cincinnati Bengals. On the Swanglin Show as they play for the AFC Championship. Today, this episode will be out after that game has been played. So I'm going to ask you this question right now, C.J. Dinero. What is the biggest mistake that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to make tonight in the AFC Championship?
Zero. We ain't going to make no mistakes.
You see that shit? You see that shit, Kyle? When you represent for your squad, when a motherfucker, like when Stan Edwards Jr. hired Newkleus pro bono to be his manager within the quest for the Swanglin Heavyweight Championship, when you get put on the spot and you get asked a question about the fucking squad, you don't fucking hesitate. You say, bingo, 0 fucking faults. We're getting it done. Your fucking team's a bum. It's going down. So, Kyle, did you learn your lesson from that mistake?
Yes. And I do want to bring up something. You were talking about that, seeing things at eye level or whatever. That is very similar to what like the Eastern philosophy of mindfulness, and the opposite would be mindlessness. So like the mistake of forgetting where the hell your car keys are and stuff, that has to do with the fact you were kind of mindlessly putting your car keys where the hell you put them. If you're mindful of, I'm putting my car keys in this spot, or you have these things set up like that, it can actually help with, not making mistakes. If you're constantly in the moment, seeing things at eye level and taking them for what they are, you don't forget that where you put stuff because you were in the moment as you did it. So I think that man was talking about staying in the moment as you do things prevents a hell of a lot of mistakes.
Vice, I
Facts.
feel like you want to chime in on this, what Kyle had just said right there.
I would just say at least, with organization, it's like if you get put on autopilot. Like for me, I try to organize everything about my next day, the day before. When I'm setting up for work, I got everything done the day before, so I could just get up and go. I'm on autopilot. There's usually almost no mistakes, in preparation. And it goes back to something my pops always said: if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So if you don't got a plan, you're already shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go.
Yeah, man, the P's. Have you ever heard this? I know somebody in this chat right now knows about the P's. The P's is that sentence, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So EJ Harrison, my man, slanging them pizzas out there and them cheesecakes out there in Fostoria, Ohio. What is the biggest mistake that you've ever made?
I don't know, man. I can't tell you the biggest one. I've made a lot of mistakes, man. It's like COVID-19 with mistakes, man. This is going to be a different variant every different month, man. We're going to keep having mistakes. It's just, as you grow, you're going to obviously run into mistakes. I don't think I've grown to where I'm going to be at yet. So I'm almost, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm looking forward to my next mistake and solving it and getting past it and all that good stuff they tell you to do. But as far as my biggest mistake, man, there was this girl named Tina back in the day. Let me tell you, I should have hit that.
Tina, if you're listening to the Swanglin Show, you little son of a bitch. I hope you fucking go to sleep tonight and you think long and hard, and you probably wake up next to some dude that fucking don't even got the gumption to take his soggy ass to the YMCA once a month, and you're looking at EJ Harrison and he tried to holler at you back in 1997, you dog-faced dummy bitch, and you fucking spun him around. Look at you now. Look at you now. When you see EJ flexing probably Mercedes-Benz and shit out here, and you get blinded by the sight of his fucking two knuckles that sit on the outside of his hand, and you're like, damn, I made a mistake. Didn't you, Tina? Now, after that moment of pure silence, R.I.P. Tina.
R.I.P. Tina.
For the mistakes that she made. And that's one thing that I love about what you said, EJ, is you're looking forward to making that next mistake, because you got to have, that's like the ultimate, in my opinion, like level of mastery of self, when you're willing to embrace challenge, man. I love it, dude. Sometimes like things will spin out of control in life, and you're not going to ever be in control of what happens or what comes your way. So you got to be willing to assess what's in front of you and be open for challenge and open for change, because that's what's going to make you better. You never know what you can do until you're forced to really push it to the limit and see what you're capable of doing. And that's some real shit we're going to drop to you on the Swanglin Show, episode 28. Joshua P. Dunn. Today, the P is for so many things that we can't even talk about it, man. I don't want to get PETA on my ass. I don't want to get cancel cultured. I don't want to get shadow banned. I don't want to do all that shit, because if I start dropping and if I start popping my shit on the Swanglin Show all the way, they're going to shut this motherfucker down. What do you guys think about that?
I think you should do it.
I feel like that's what Mr. Rage really wanted me to do it. And
Mr. Rage, his aim would be to be canceled. Like he wouldn't be satisfied until he was canceled.
Yeah, and I think at some point, like I feel like the ultimate goal is if we get to that point where we got to just deliberately get canceled, we got to do it like epically. It's got to be like Swanglin 100 in the mountaintop, live view with aerial drones and all types of high production value. We'll make it look like it's a fucking Miramax film.
Yeah, all I want to say is if I get arrested, you got to foot the lawyer bill.
Okay, yeah. Well, what if I told you, yeah, and then you couldn't find me? Would that be considered a mistake?
I mean, yeah, that'd be a mistake on my part.
Yeah, it would be a mistake for both of us, definitely, because you don't want to do people dirty. That's a mistake. Yeah, and in some instances, trusting people is a mistake too. So you got to be real careful, when you're dealing with people like the Swanglin heavyweight champion. I mean, he's the ultra villain. You know what I mean? Those glasses were expensive. I told you, you don't want to know what he paid for them on the Swanglin Show.
Oh,
We got Newkleus in the building, giving us some great game about some mistakes that he's made and about some advice of how emotional intelligence can potentially help you stop making mistakes entirely. We got my man, the ultimate Cincinnati Bengal fan, the king of the wings, C.J. Dinero, in the house, dropping some game about mistakes as well. Now, C.J., I know that you're working on a new album right now, that No More Sucker Shit Part 2. What is a mistake that you've made in the album making process that you'll never make again?
Shit, man, that's the album making process. One that I continuously make is making announcements.
yeah.
Like I've learned that don't make an announcement about the album. Now you can make an announcement about the album, but don't talk about no release date until that motherfucker is done. All the features is turned in, the bitch is mixed down, it's ready to go. If you're still slanging CDs, you got the CDs pressed up, promos been done, everything together. Then you drop a release date. Because I done had to push back so many projects multiple times. I don't think I've ever released a project on the first release date that I announced. I don't think I've ever did that.
Absolutely. If you're listening to the Swanglin Show, there's a lesson to be learned there. You know, don't tell motherfuckers you're ready until you're ready. Now, Vice Grip,
Exactly.
my man Vice Grip. And I'm going to also pass this question around the room, Vice, because I know you're working on a new project as well. What's something that you've done in the album making process that you just will never do again? Knew it was a mistake.
I would kind of lean towards what CJ says, expect things to go exactly how you plan, because they never do. There's always curveballs in the process. So you just got to kind of learn to roll with the punches. On official projects, I really don't do too many features. I try to do everything myself as much as I can. I produce, I write, I generally record myself. Right now I'm working my new album with the J Hex Project is engineering it, mixing and mastering it. But, depending on other people sometimes can be a mistake, depending on who they are and how much they're committed to something. So, everything's a learning process, and you try to do as much. You always need other people, so you got to try to make solid decisions on who you work with when you evolve yourself. Because you can't do everything yourself, so there's always going to be other people involved in the project, and that goes out to, like CJ said, if you're pressing CDs and merchandise, you got to rely on manufacturers and distributors and shipping and delivery, which right now in the pandemic world is all kinds of messed up. So, release dates, I would not even like to hear the word release date. I'm not even thinking about it until, it's 100% at the end of it, done, 100% product ready to go. Because you can't really, there's too many variables right now.
That's some real game for our artist friends that are listening. You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful with that. Be careful with announcing shit, because you never know when some shit can switch shit up. Now, if you're watching the video version of the Swanglin Show, episode 28, you just watched our first time special guest, EJ Harrison, pull them floured fingertips out and roll him out a fucking flip out of pizza dough like it was nobody's business. I want you to tell the people again, one more time, my friend, where they can grab some pizza at.
The Venue 18 Daddy and K's. Get this New York style pizza, man. I've had nothing but positive reviews on it. It's delicious. I'm actually making one for myself right now because I still smell it in the air and I need it.
That's how it be, man.
Thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Now, CJ, if you want to make a trade, I could do wings too.
Shit, hey, we can do that. I need to try some new pizza anyway.
Now, what about this?
Delicious.
What if there's a way, that somehow something was just sparked right now where it's going to be like the News fried chicken pizza at Daddy and K's, something that you could get like.
We can do that.
Maybe you could do an exclusive trade-off where you guys just combine this fan base and just pretty much just headbutt the 419 with something so exclusive that maybe they could never get again. You know,
some chunky
maybe
chunks on that pizza. Shit.
maybe the
Pizza with
Swanglin
chicken
Show.
chunks?
Yeah, maybe
Chunky
the
chunks, oh,
Swanglin
yeah.
Show could be the beacon for something crazy going on right now. Now, I see as I start talking about pizza, man, and I start talking about chicken wings, man. I just seen the baby face, man, the fucking co-host of the Swanglin Show, the fucking fickle freckle boy living in the sea, the fucking the ultimate good guy, dude. His smile grew from ear to ear, and I know that this is a complete testament to you guys, though, and I don't think you guys fully understand that. Like, the pizza's that good, the chicken wings are that good that just the thought of either one of them or both of them combined turn child like Kyle into like a 6-year-old boy ready to sit down at the dinner table. And if you're watching the video of the Swanglin Show, you can see this shit. It's live. We're making Kyle hungry. Kyle, what did you have? Did you make a mistake for breakfast today, Kyle?
Oof.
No. But they're not new news.
Well,
Nope.
I think we may have had some slight technical issues there. You turned into a robot for a second. It was kind of cool, but nobody knows what you said. So did you or did you not make a mistake for breakfast today?
Oh no, but I did have chicken wings for lunch, and they were not as good as new news. Not at all.
Okay. Well, you know, the Swanglin Show, we wouldn't encourage any type of negativity or whatever, but if you want to throw it out there, whose wings aren't as good as New News chicken, you know, you can drop the bomb here if you feel like it.
You don't need to give them no advertisement.
Yeah, I want to point out that Daddy.
You ain't point nothing out.
No, he's
Just
pointed
break up
out.
again.
He's pointed out. Yeah, Kyle, you just pointed out that you got fired. It's like a factory system now in the Swanglin Show. Every time we get 2 technical glitches, dude, you're done. You're fired. You feel me? From here on out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just fucking with you, my dude. But yeah, I have yet to try the Daddy and K's cheesecake, but it's gonna happen at some point. You know, I gotta show love for the home team, and I'm always a fan of cheesecake. I'm sure everybody that loves the Swanglin Show loves cheesecake, and I would say it's a mistake if you don't try it. It's a mistake if you don't support New News Kitchen. It's a mistake if you don't donate $1 towards the cause of Vice Grip cutting his mustache out like Hulk Hogan for the Swanglin Show. So we're gonna get this little GoFundMe or like some type of donation box available. And if we can reach the very small number of, what do you say, Vice? $40?
$1 million. You gotta get $1 million for me to consider that shit.
We talked on a previous episode what you can get for $40. That's not worth having a Hogan stash for 24 hours to represent the Swanglin Heavyweight Championship. Son of a bitch.
40 won't even cover the barber. What the hell? I have to do that shit myself. Man, that shit looking all ugly.
Well, see, I have a feeling that that's the reason why I can't grow a beard, because every time I try to cut my beard, I fuck it up. So I suggest if you're listening to the Swanglin Show and you're a man and you want to have a cool beard, you should probably go somewhere and get it lined up correctly, because I can't do it. And it's hard as fuck for me to do it. It's a mistake every time that I do it. Now, I feel, as always on every episode, feeling super blessed and thankful that I'm able to be joined by members of the illustrious Konspiracy Family as we're chopping it up on the Swanglin Show. On this episode, I did not make the mistake that I've been making on previous episodes where like halfway through, I'll call it a different episode number. So I've called it episode 28, the whole episode this time. So I fixed my own behavior. So I'm feeling very great about that. Now, I want to say thank you to you guys specifically for joining me today on the Swanglin Show. As always, I got my man, the co-host, Kyle Newkleus, whole singer. You know what I'm saying? He could teach you a thing or two about making mistakes, let me tell you. And as always, we got C.J. Dinero, the king of the wing, representing New News Kitchen, the Konspiracy Family, representing the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully he'll be popping his shit next week on the Swanglin Show about how the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. That would be great.
I hope so.
And my man EJ Harrison joining us live from the kitchen of Daddy and K's Pizza at Venue 18 in Fostoria, Ohio. You got to get your ass out there, you little son of a bitch, and you order enough for 2 meals because he deserves it. Round of applause for EJ Harrison and Daddy and K's pizza out there. Another round of applause for my man, C.J. Dinero, aka New News Kitchen out there in Findlay, Ohio, putting it down. Round of applause for the fickle freckle boy. The fucking Newkleus is like the big dad. You guys don't even know how many kids this dude takes care of regularly, bro. To do what you do, round of applause to you. And as always, we're gonna save. If I could throw in my little opinion right now, we're gonna save the best for last. The Swanglin heavyweight champion, man, the dude that's been holding it down, flexing with the nonstop appearances on the Swanglin Show. He even shows up wearing the Konspiracy Family gear. Vice Grip, my friend, we're going to give you a round of applause, man, because you deserve it. You've been holding it down as the Swanglin heavyweight champion, and we're really looking forward to everything that you bring to the table on the Swanglin Show. It's episode 28. It's Joshua P. Dunn. The episodes aren't perfect. You might be able to hear my dogs barking in the background. Our audio might be fucked up from time to time. But look, the audio might fuck up from time to time. You might be able to hear these dogs barking, but no matter what, we're giving you some real fucking game, and things might not be perfect. Yeah, man. You gotta, just like the Swanglin Show's not perfect, either are you little son of a bitch. So I made a mistake one time and you made one too. So if you're listening to the Swanglin Show, that wasn't a mistake. Rick's dangling for life.